Mana mana. Mana mana. Mana mana. Welcome back to Rod's Radios. Today on the bench I have a Telefunken Opus 6 mains radio from around 1955. I bought this 4 years ago at an auction where I spotted it as being one of the high-end Telefunken radios. And it proved so to be. It's extremely heavy, it's extremely big, and it took a lot of work to bring it back to how it is today. In the meantime, here's what it looked like 4 years ago when I bought it. As you can see, it's rather shabby and grubby. It was sitting in a shed for quite some time, I think, when I got it. But I spent quite a lot of time on it, fettling it, to bring it back to how it looks today. And as you can see, it came up really well. And it sounds fantastic, or it did at the time. Now, when I took it down out of the bedroom at home where it was sitting for the last while, I discovered that FM had stopped working, so this is why it's up on the bench today. The other wave bands are fine, medium wave, long wave, short wave, working as normal, but virtually no reception, in fact no reception at all on FM. If I turn it up, you maybe hear the background crackle, and as I tune up and down the band, absolutely nothing. There's the faint sound of a station in the background, but it's coming in all the way along the dial, so it sounds like the oscillator has stopped working. So I think it's time to take a look at this again and see if we can get it back in working order. Oops, I made a boo-boo here. In actual fact, there's nothing wrong with this radio at all. I'd forgotten, because it's been a while since I've been using this, but actually there's a separate control for the VHF or FM band apart from the normal AM one, and I was trying to tune in the FM band with the AM tuner. No! So I can show you that it's actually working perfectly. So we select the FM, turn up the volume a little bit, and start tuning.
Make it slightly more than that. The problem is, once you get into the question about whether we the UK are trying to cherry pick parts of the single market.
Our advertisers, thanks for helping us get good news on
It's just...
Look, a yard would cater to
or not after your work there. See, why did I hear?
Famous and Tralee, Noix Newman's kitchen floors.
So actually, this radio is working perfectly. So no longer a pair, but seeing as I have it down on the bench, why don't I turn it around and we'll have a look in the back and see what was done in the original restoration. Looking at the back of this radio, we can see what a magnificent beast it is. It's a fine, advanced radio for its time. It sat near the top of the range in the Telefunken 1950s lineup. And you may be able to immediately see the size of the speakers here. There are 6 loudspeakers in this radio, 2 big bass speakers, 2 mid-range speakers up here, and 2 electrostatic tweeters for the top. So 6 speakers in all. And to run that, it definitely needed something more than the usual lineup of output valves, because in this radio there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, including the magic eye. And in the output stage, it's not just a single-ended EL84, but 2 EL84s with in between a little phase splitter, I think it is called, that splits the audio signal into 2 phases, one fed to each of the output valves. So quite a beefy lineup here. Fine big transformer here. And what else to show you? 2 IF stages, an EF89 and I think it's an EF85. two IF stages. Normally there's only one in a radio around this side. And then over on the right hand side, you may be able to see this is what I installed as part of the Bluetooth setup. And this was one of the first Bluetooth units I fitted to these radios, because this one was done I think about 4 years ago. And it has a separate power supply here with a relay. Now the relay operates such that the Bluetooth module only kicks in when you select the gram, because when you select the gram option on this radio, it switches off the Magic Eye. And I've used an absence of voltage from the Magic Eye to switch over the relay in order to switch on the Bluetooth module, which is separately mounted up here on a separate panel. So it works really well now, as it did before. So I'm sorry that this was kind of a false report, but it's working, and that's the main thing. I'll turn it upside down and just have a look inside too, because there were several capacitors replaced in here, and you might like to see what was done there. So looking underneath the chassis and going in close up, you can see that I've replaced a number of capacitors, orange drop capacitors, some resistors as well over there, more capacitors, electrolytic capacitors, more orange drops. And this one here was a particularly interesting one. This needed to be a screened capacitor, so I made it by wrapping braided wire around the capacitor itself and bringing that down to earth. So there you are. What started off as a would-be repair ended up as a show and tell. Anyway, if you have been, thanks for watching.
The Marriage of Figaro, it's Mozart's music there, and Yannick Nézet-Séguin was conducting the Chamber Orchestra of Europe. And that is more or less it for this Wednesday on Classical Daytime. I hope you've enjoyed at least some of the music.